More than 1,000 years ago, nestled high in the rugged highlands of what is now Ethiopia, one of Africa's greatest civilizations began to collapse. Its cities, once vibrant centers of power and faith, turned to ash. Its monumental stelae, guardians of a glorious past, stood witness to unimaginable destruction. Behind the stories that whispered through the desolate landscape, across generations, stood a woman whose name would survive for centuries. Some called her Yodit, others called her Judith. To some, she was a liberator. To others, a destroyer, a queen, a witch, a rebel, a scourge. But who was she really? What force could bring an empire to its knees? Tonight, we journey into the heart of a profound historical enigma to ask, what truly happened in the shadow of the woman who burned an empire? Long before the shadows of Yodit, there was Aksum. Rising in the northern Ethiopian highlands, roughly between the 1st and 7th centuries CE, the Kingdom of Aksum was no mere regional power. Its strategic location, bordering the Red Sea, placed it at the crossroads of ancient empires. Aksum was a crucible of cultures, a vital link in the trade networks connecting the Roman world, the burgeoning kingdoms of Arabia, and the distant, mystical lands of India. From its bustling port of Agilis, Aksumite merchants controlled a vast flow of goods: gold, ivory, exotic spices, myrrh, frankincense, and even live animals. This immense wealth fueled a sophisticated civilization, manifest in its astonishing architectural achievements. The iconic stelae of Aksum, monolithic obelisks carved from single pieces of granite, stand as silent testament to its engineering prowess and spiritual depth. Some reached over 30 meters, marking royal tombs and asserting the divine right of kings, feats of construction rivaling any in the ancient world. But Aksum's influence wasn't just economic or architectural. By the 4th century CE, under King Ezana, Aksum embraced Christianity, becoming one of the first states in the world to do so. This conversion didn't just transform its spiritual landscape. It cemented Aksum's place as a powerful Christian kingdom in a largely pagan and later Islamic world. It was a beacon, a world power, respected and feared, its reach extending far beyond its borders. For centuries, Aksum experienced its golden age. Its wealth was legendary, its markets overflowing with treasures from 3 continents. Aksumite coinage, bearing the images of its kings and Christian symbols, was an internationally recognized currency, reflecting a stable economy and sophisticated administration. Its kings wielded immense power, not only within their vast domain, but also as significant players on the global stage, engaging in complex diplomacy and even military campaigns that extended across the Red Sea into ancient Yemen. This was a kingdom of profound religious significance. Traditions held that the Ark of the Covenant itself resided in Aksum, a belief that instilled an almost mystical aura around its Christian monarchy. Monasteries and churches flourished, becoming centers of learning and spiritual devotion. Aksum stood as a bastion of faith, a formidable power whose stability seemed unshakable. It was a kingdom that had defied the odds, thrived in isolation, and carved its name into the annals of ancient history. But even the mightiest empires eventually faced the tide of change. By the 7th century, Aksum's golden age began to fade. The rise of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula drastically altered the geopolitical landscape. New Muslim caliphates gained control of the Red Sea trade, rerouting vital commercial arteries away from Aksum's traditional ports like Adulis, which slowly withered into obscurity. Simultaneously, environmental pressures began to take their toll. Centuries of agricultural expansion led to widespread deforestation and soil degradation in the highlands. There's also scholarly debate about potential climate shifts, including periods of decreased rainfall, exacerbating resource scarcity. These ecological challenges put immense strain on the Aksumite heartland. Internally, political fragmentation became a growing concern. The Aksumite Empire, once a centralized power, saw its peripheral regions and vassal states assert greater autonomy. The loyalty of various ethnic and tribal groups within the empire became increasingly tenuous. External threats, though not always direct military invasions, contributed to a sense of encirclement and vulnerability. Aksum was becoming more isolated, its once unrivaled power slowly eroding. But this is where the story becomes unclear. For a kingdom so historically prominent, the detailed records of its ultimate downfall are startlingly scarce. It's in this vacuum, this deepening twilight of a once great empire, that the figure of Yodit emerges from the shadows of history and legend. The earliest accounts of Yodit, often referred to as Judith or Gudit, appear not in contemporary Aksumite chronicles, which are largely silent on the matter, but in much later Ethiopian traditions, dating centuries after the supposed events. This delay is itself a profound clue to the mystery. Who was she? Her name alone holds layers of uncertainty. Was she Yodit, a common Ethiopian name derived from the Hebrew Judith? Or Gudit, as in some later Arabic texts, perhaps implying a derogatory connotation? The variations reflect the diverse origins and interpretations of her story. Some traditions paint her as a Jewish queen, others as a pagan, an animist, or even a renegade Christian queen leading a rebellion. Competing traditions abound. Some Ethiopian oral histories, particularly from the Aga people, speak of a powerful queen who fought against the Aksumite establishment, perhaps even a legitimate claimant to the throne. Christian narratives, however, portray her as a demonic figure, a destructive force of chaos, intent on eradicating Christianity and the Solomonic line. These accounts, filled with hyperbolic descriptions of burning churches and cultural devastation, serve almost as hagiographies in reverse, solidifying her image as an anti-hero. The records suddenly grow silent about the specific catalysts and details surrounding Aksum's final collapse, leaving us with fragmented narratives that often contradict one another. This profound lack of contemporary evidence is the heart of the Yodit enigma, forcing us to piece together a fragmented mosaic from later memory and interpretation. Given the historical vacuum, scholars have proposed several competing theories to explain the figure of Yodit and her role in the fall of Aksum. One prevailing theory presents her as a rebel queen. Perhaps she was an Aksumite princess, disillusioned or dispossessed, who rallied discontented factions within the empire. This theory suggests an internal power struggle, a violent dynastic dispute, where Yodit, by birthright or ambition, sought to seize control and dismantle the old order. Another significant perspective is the Aga ruler theory. The Aga are an indigenous Cushitic-speaking people, many of whom lived within or on the fringes of the Aksumite kingdom. This theory posits Yodit as a leader from the Aga, perhaps resentful of Aksumite Semitic dominance and its imposed Christianity. Her destructive campaign could then be interpreted as an ethnic and religious uprising, an attempt to reassert indigenous power and pre-Christian belief systems. This theory gained traction partly because the Zagwe dynasty, which succeeded Aksum, was also of Aga origin. The religious conflict theory portrays Yodit as a fanatical figure, possibly Jewish, whose primary motivation was the systematic destruction of Aksumite Christianity. The consistent emphasis in later chronicles on the burning of churches, the defilement of altars, and the persecution of clergy lends weight to this interpretation. However, linking her definitively to Judaism or any specific non-Christian faith remains speculative, as the evidence is largely from Christian sources seeking to demonize her. A broader political revolution theory suggests Yodit wasn't just an individual, but a symbol or leader of a widespread social upheaval. The decline of Aksum had created fertile ground for discontent, economic hardship, environmental stress, and a weakening central authority. Yodit could have been the charismatic figurehead of a popular revolt, aiming to overthrow a crumbling, perhaps oppressive regime. And this is the part historians still debate. Some alternative scholarly interpretations even question whether Yodit was a single historical person at all. She might be a composite figure, a symbolic representation of the chaotic end of an era, an amalgamation of various smaller rebellions, or even a scapegoat invented by later chroniclers to explain a complex and embarrassing imperial collapse. Legend and history begin to merge, making it incredibly difficult to discern the individual behind the myth. Regardless of her true identity, the destruction narrative surrounding Yodit is chillingly consistent across later accounts. She is painted as an instrument of devastation, leaving a trail of ruin in her wake. The most frequently cited act is the systematic burning of churches and monasteries, not just isolated incidents, but a widespread campaign aimed at the heart of Aksumite Christian identity. This wasn't merely material destruction. It was an assault on the spiritual, cultural, and political foundations of the kingdom. Monasteries were centers of learning, repositories of royal chronicles and religious texts. Their destruction would have created an immediate and profound information void, contributing significantly to the historical uncertainty surrounding this period. These narratives also speak of brutal attacks on royal centers, including the capital city itself. Palaces were sacked, precious artifacts looted or destroyed, and the monumental stelae, symbols of Aksumite power, were reportedly defaced or toppled. The image of a once proud capital laid waste suggests a deliberate and thorough effort to dismantle the Aksumite state. Perhaps most critically, the destruction narrative often includes the killing of royal family members and their descendants. If Yodit's campaign truly aimed to extinguish the Solomonic dynasty, this would represent a catastrophic blow, leading to a power vacuum that plunged the region into what some historians call Ethiopia's Dark Ages, a period of intense instability and fractured rule. The cumulative effect of these acts would have been the profound collapse of dynastic authority. The very notion of a centralized Aksumite state, ruled by a divinely sanctioned line of kings, was shattered. The ensuing chaos gave rise to new political configurations and shifted the center of power in Ethiopia for centuries. To navigate the labyrinth of Yodit's story, we must ask, what evidence truly exists to support these dramatic narratives, and what remains purely within the realm of myth? The existing evidence primarily consists of later Ethiopian chronicles, such as the Gadlazina Markos and the Kebra Nagast, as well as various hagiographies and oral traditions passed down through generations. These sources, while rich in detail and emotion, were often compiled centuries after the supposed events, raising questions about their historical accuracy and potential for embellishment or political agenda. They frequently portray Yodit as a monster, a necessary antagonist to elevate the heroes who eventually restored order. What evidence is conspicuously missing? Crucially, there are virtually no contemporary Aksumite records, inscriptions, or foreign accounts from the 10th century that mention Yodit directly or detail the widespread destruction attributed to her. This silence is deafening for historians. For an event of such monumental impact, the lack of corroborating evidence from the time itself is perplexing. This is precisely why historians disagree so vehemently. The fragmentary nature of the evidence, coupled with the deeply entrenched biases of the later accounts, makes objective analysis incredibly challenging. Was the destruction exaggerated to demonize a political enemy, or to explain a multifaceted decline with a single dramatic cause? Were records lost, or intentionally suppressed by subsequent dynasties? The truth may be more complicated than anyone imagined, a tapestry woven with threads of fact, folklore, and the profound human need to comprehend catastrophe. While the legend of Yodit offers a singular, dramatic explanation, the actual fall of Aksum was likely a complex process of long-term decline, a slow unraveling rather than a sudden, cataclysmic blow from one individual. The environmental degradation, the shift in global trade routes, and internal political fragmentation that began centuries earlier had already weakened the kingdom significantly. Yodit, if she was a historical figure, may have been a catalyst, exploiting these pre-existing vulnerabilities, rather than the sole instigator of Aksum's demise. Her actions, or the events attributed to her, could have been the final, fatal blow to an already tottering giant. The decline of Aksum also involved a significant shift in political power. The heart of the kingdom moved away from its northern Red Sea-facing territories, further inland and southward, into the more fertile and defensible highlands. This relocation eventually paved the way for the emergence of new Ethiopian states. Chief among these was the Zagwe dynasty, which rose to prominence in the region of Lasta, further south of Aksum. The Zagwe kings, often associated with the Agao people, presided over a new golden age, famous for their rock-hewn churches of Lalibela. Their emergence is a critical piece of the puzzle, lending credence to the idea that the destruction of Aksum by Yodit might have been a violent transition of power, perhaps from the Aksumite Semitic elite to an indigenous Agar leadership, rather than total annihilation. Archaeological evidence, while not explicitly naming Yodit, supports a gradual abandonment and decline of Aksum's urban centers, punctuated by periods of destruction. It suggests a long, slow process, rather than a single, instantaneous collapse at the hands of one woman. As we peel back the layers of myth and history, a crucial question emerges. Could Yodit have been profoundly misunderstood by subsequent generations? If she was indeed a historical figure, her motivations might have been far more complex than the simplistic portrayal of a demonic destroyer. Was she a liberator, fighting against an oppressive regime that had lost its way? A conqueror, seizing power during a period of weakness? A revolutionary, ushering in a new political and perhaps religious order? Or was she, in fact, a tragic figure, reacting to circumstances beyond her control, her actions twisted and magnified by the victors or chroniclers of later eras? Her story, regardless of its precise historical accuracy, represents a potent symbolic figure in Ethiopian history. She embodies chaos, rebellion, and profound societal change. Her legend serves as a powerful narrative framework to explain an otherwise inexplicable collapse, giving human form to the forces of entropy that befell a proud civilization. This brings us to the fascinating interplay between historical memory versus reality. How do societies process traumatic events? Often, by distilling complex processes into simple narratives, attributing grand-scale destruction to individual heroes or villains. Yodit, in this sense, becomes less a woman and more a monument to the end of one era and the tumultuous birth of another. The mystery of Yodit endures, a testament to the powerful, almost magnetic allure of untold stories and unanswered questions. Why has her story survived with such tenacity in the oral traditions and later chronicles of Ethiopia, even as detailed contemporary records vanished? Perhaps because it offered a tangible explanation for an immense cultural trauma, a dramatic narrative that resonated across generations. It's a story of ultimate power and ultimate destruction, a cautionary tale, and a cornerstone of Ethiopia's complex historical identity. Yet, why did the details vanish, leaving us with such ambiguity? The chaos of the period, the destruction of Aksumite libraries, the shift in political power to a new dynasty potentially less invested in preserving the records of their predecessors, all contributed to this historical void. Perhaps, too, the victors wrote the history, and her story, even in its vilified form, was too potent to be erased entirely, serving as a dark counterpoint to the glorious Aksumite past. Today, archaeology continues to chip away at the layers of earth and time. Modern excavations at Aksum and surrounding sites continue to reveal more about the gradual decline and eventual transformation of the kingdom. While no definitive Yodit's palace or Yodit's army camp has been found, the evidence confirms widespread destruction and abandonment in the 10th century, coinciding with the era she is said to have reigned. It helps us understand the context, the environment, but still leaves the specific actor shrouded in mist. Regardless of whether Yodit was a single queen or a symbolic force, her legend marks a profound turning point in Ethiopian history. The chaos attributed to her led to a period of fragmented rule, eventually giving way to the rise of new dynasties. The Zagwe dynasty, with its capital at Roha, later Lalibela, dominated the Central Highlands for roughly 3 centuries. They were prodigious builders, carving magnificent churches directly out of solid rock, showcasing a unique form of Ethiopian Christianity. Their rise can be seen as a direct consequence, or perhaps even a culmination, of the power shifts initiated during Aksum's decline. Later, the restored Solomonic dynasty claimed direct lineage from the ancient Aksumite kings, asserting continuity and reclaiming a narrative of glorious heritage. Both the Zagwe and Solomonic periods built upon the foundations, albeit dramatically altered, of Aksum. This period of turmoil and transition forged a new identity for Ethiopia. It moved from a coastal mercantile empire deeply integrated into Red Sea trade to an inland, agrarian, and intensely Christian kingdom, fostering a unique cultural and religious isolation that would define it for centuries. The legacy of Yodit, therefore, is not merely one of destruction, but a fundamental political and cultural transformation. So we return to the central, enduring question: did one woman truly destroy an empire? Was Yodit a historical figure whose furious ambition and strategic brutality led to the catastrophic collapse of Aksum? Or did history, in its mysterious way, create a powerful legend to explain a much larger, more complex collapse? A gradual decline caused by shifting trade, environmental stress, internal strife, and external pressures, all distilled into the figure of a single, unforgettable woman. The true identity of Yodit, the precise details of her campaign, and the full extent of her impact may forever remain elusive, lost in the shadows of the 10th century. Yet, her story, whether fact or fiction, continues to resonate, a haunting reminder of the fragility of power, the complexities of historical truth, and the enduring human need to find meaning in the ashes of a fallen civilization. She remains the woman who burned an empire, her legacy etched not in stone, but in the indelible mystery of Ethiopia's past. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the forgotten files of history. We hope this exploration into the mystery of Yodit has ignited your curiosity and offered new perspectives on one of Africa's most fascinating, yet enigmatic periods. If you've been captivated by this story, please subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the untold narratives of our past. Your support allows us to continue bringing these forgotten stories to light.